Review a Raw from Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
Welcome to Review-A-Raw.
Yeah.
Guess who I am? Guess who he is? And we are about to chat about Raw from Monday night in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Site of?
The Raw the night after WrestleMania 30.
No, I meant, well, yes, it was that. But also the site of the future WrestleMania 34.
Correct, where they will be returning next year at the one of my favorite named arenas, the Smoothie King Center.
Yeah, not WrestleMania, though. WrestleMania will not be at the Smoothie King Center.
No, probably the Hall of Fame and probably TakeOver will be, though.
Right.
At the Smoothie King Center.
It's nice.
Do you remember sitting in the dark watching Raw that night?
I do.
In this arena. That's
Yes,
all I
I
remember
do.
about this arena. I remember Paige debuting, and I remember needing a flashlight to go to the washroom.
Yeah, I don't remember having a smoothie there, which I should have.
I don't remember getting anything to drink or eat because we were in an area where that was not an option.
No.
Yes, we were. It was quite the time, New Orleans.
It was really like the darkness arena.
That was after we had that awful lunch, remember? Where I didn't even get my lunch.
So is this the review? We're gonna
I want to review New Orleans,
food
actually.
we had in New Orleans?
I was going to warn WWE. I was like, just before you go back to New Orleans, let's get some things straightened out this time around.
Okay.
So Raw, Monday night, it kicked off with Stephanie McMahon coming out, and she's actually in the back with Mick Foley with a shaven head. And I will say Mick Foley, his hair must have added 20 years to him. He looked so youthful here in comparison.
I'll say so. I thought it was an improvement. You would know something about that. You shaved your head.
I think I looked
at
older
one
with
time.
it. Yeah, I did.
You do look
a lot more
I guess
easier.
you look older.
I-
It's a better look.
I think Foley, it's a better look.
It is. I agree.
I thought the first time he shaved his head in 2000, I'm like, that's a nice clean look for the guy. He looks younger.
I think he definitely needs a different look because to go
that
with,
wild hair was just too much.
well to go with the weight gain, I think the vision we all have of Mick Foley was this kind of bigger, jolly guy with the long hair. Now that he's kind of lost all this weight, losing some of that stuff up top kind of goes with it. And he certainly dressed better on this edition of Raw than when we last saw him.
He had a turtleneck sweater on.
Yeah.
He
did not have a like a rash guard with
a rash
what
guard.
was that thing? Like like an ugly Christmas sweater rash guard?
Yes.
Is that what he had?
So easily the best dressed Mick Foley we have seen in years, and
This year.
I don't want to tease things. Of many years, I will
Okay.
say, for Mick Foley.
All
and
right.
there's another guy here who also a drastic improvement that we will get to. So Stephanie McMahon is talking about this job performance review tonight for Mick Foley, and notes how Mick Foley has started this rumor that The Undertaker will be in attendance tonight. And this rumor has been started by Mick Foley. So Stephanie says
Didn't they promote it last week?
they said it's rumored that he would be here next week.
So we're led to believe that Foley himself started this
Foley
rumor?
started this rumor, and we would find out if it would play itself out or not. Because Stephanie says when the WWE Universe expects something, they want it delivered.
Okay.
Yes. And Stephanie says that The Undertaker was last on SmackDown, and then Foley says he can't guarantee anything, but he started the rumors. What a start. Can't guarantee a thing.
All right.
Seth Rollins then walks in. He has entered the Royal Rumble match, and then Braun Strowman storms in. He wants to face either Roman Reigns or Bill Goldberg. Clearly not up on Bill Goldberg's limited dates. Rollins gets into his face. They fight, and a fake plant is thrown at Strowman. An actual fake plant, not just a random person in the room. As Stephanie is just shrieking. I thought any windows in sight would have broken here. Her shrieking was just... It was piercing my eardrums, this yelling.
It was almost like a mutant power she had.
Oh, God. It was, it was Rita Repulsive level.
Yeah. Repulsa.
No, I know. I was trying to make a play on words because it was repulsive.
Gotcha.
She threatens to fire everyone. They're separated, and Foley ends it by stating The Undertaker will be here tonight. So in these 30 seconds, he got confirmation. Show started off with Roman Reigns coming out for his handicap match with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho for the United States title. And there was a sign in this crowdway in New Orleans that said, "It's too cold for wet hair," as Roman Reigns walked down. you know what temperature it is in New Orleans right now?
No.
It was 13 Celsius out. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Too cold.
How cold is it here in Toronto?
It was like -2 tonight, and it was like -11 on Sunday.
Yeah, quit complaining. Come on.
55 Fahrenheit. These New Orleans fans, they need to know what cold is.
Yeah, it's perfect condition for wet hair.
The shark cage, for no reason explained, is just, it travels with the Raw equipment every week. It's just here on the stage.
Shark cage season. Yeah.
Yes, the shark cage is looming. And Owens shields Jericho's eyes from even looking at the shark cage. It's like an eclipse. If Jericho sees it, he could be blinded. Braun Strowman comes out before the match begins, and Reigns fights with him. It leads to a 3-on-1 attack. Rollins runs out for the save with a chair and hits a Van Daminator to Braun Strowman, not identified as such, and then attacks Owens and Jericho with chair shots. Reigns gets his own chair, and they clear the ring. Stephanie comes out and says the match is not going to end this way. She's going to give Roman Reigns a chance to recover. The match will be later tonight, but Rollins is facing Braun Strowman immediately. So we're going to tease all show long this Roman Reigns match, and trying what they did a number of weeks back. You've kind of seen this pattern where you tease something early after the success of Charlotte and Sasha, and I think they kind of are going to go to the well a number of times now with this strategy for a main event. Tease it early and then make people want it later in the show.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to switch things up outside of, doing your typical 15-minute talking segment to tee up the rest of the show. So, yeah, I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was fine.
From there, we had Seth Rollins taking on Braun Strowman, and it began with the explanation that Sami Zayn is hurt with contusions, I believe was the medical description, and he will be back next week from the effects of the Last Man Standing match. And this was not a swerve for a run-in later. He was not on the show at all. Strowman pulled Rollins off the ropes, knocked him down. He's beating him down with strikes. The crowd was booing booing Strowman and cheering for Rollins, as Rollins fights back by grabbing onto the beard of Braun Strowman. Key offensive weapon for Seth Rollins. And Rollins eye rakes him, follows with a suicide dive, and then drop kicks the knee of Braun, hit a Shining Wizard, only got a 1 count. Strowman caught him with a blockbuster and then placed him onto the turnbuckle. Rollins is headbutting him, kicks him off, and then hits a frog splash for a 2 count. Rollins then climbs on top of the ring post to the floor, missing Strowman as he crashes onto the barricade, and Strowman drops him again, drags Rollins, but both get counted out, and then Strowman gets a chair. Rollins drop kicks it into his ankle and keeps Strowman out with the chair, and Braun Strowman just retreats up the ramp, so no finish in this match, not surprisingly. But how did you feel Braun looked in this match?
Well, I really enjoyed the short match that these two had about 2 weeks ago. I felt like Rollins is certainly great at working off of giants, and I think, Braun Strowman plays a pretty good giant. So I liked that match. This match was longer, and I thought just as good, and largely attributed to Seth Rollins. But again, without a conclusive finish. So I feel like these two have potential for a longer program down the road. They're kind of, throwing this match out and just kind of wasting it and making it not that special, though, doing it so often and kind of giving us not much storyline behind it. But I'll say, didn't Rollins look great standing on top of the top turnbuckle?
Yes.
Posing.
Great balance.
Like Jesus.
Yeah.
So
CrossFit Jesus.
Yeah, CrossFit Jesus. Maybe he could have played in that movie, the Gavin Stone thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine Rollins taking time off to go film that. I feel that's a movie, too, that we should watch sometime down the road.
That's a maybe.
Find out more about Gavin Stone.
Okay.
I hope you've reserved about a half hour for that segment, because I have. Drew Brees was shown in the audience, and then Corey Graves has a voodoo doll that he picked up on Bourbon Street, and he's going to see if it works, because he named the voodoo doll Byron Saxton and stuck a pin in it. We go backstage. Bayley and Sasha are there, and Sasha says her knee is good. And together, these two geek out over one another, just how great they are. And Bayley wants to achieve her dreams at the Royal Rumble. And Sasha says that after the Rumble, she'd like a title match after she beats Charlotte, and she's got Bayley's back. And Charlotte walks in clapping and says, "Gee, and I thought Emma Stone won the Golden Globe for Best Actress." Did you know that the Golden Globes happened on Sunday, and it was a whole show featuring Emma Stone, because that's what I took from Raw tonight. That was like the only reference we got was Emma Stone.
Oh.
Got multiple references.
I didn't even get the reference.
Anyway.
What did she win? Best Actress?
Sure, I assume so. That's what she stated here.
Okay.
She says she couldn't hold a candle to Sasha and pretending that she cares about Bayley or teaching her how to defeat Charlotte, and says that Sasha has never beaten her for the title on pay-per-view, and neither will Bayley. Then Nia Jax walks in and just kicks out Sasha's bad knee, and Charlotte tosses Bayley into the equipment case. As Charlotte and Nia then stand above their fallen foes, Charlotte pats Nia on the back, and then Nia drives Charlotte into the equipment and leaves.
Yeah, I didn't think this flowed very well for some reason.
Because it was just one of the classic WWE, just no sincerity in the believability of this confrontation.
Yeah.
Or this interaction amongst friends or enemies.
Yeah. Just like everything seemed...
Whoa, way to go, Way. I thought that Brad Pitt won the Golden Globe. Like, it's just the worst dialogue. It's like, oh, God.
I guess I'm just not sure how else they would do it, because, I mean, I guess traditionally you would have people that I feel like are better improvisers. I'm just not that confident, cause in the ability of these few to improvise, because they haven't been brought up doing that. So it just didn't feel... Because there was a lot of improvisation going on in a later segment.
Okay,
and it did not go very well.
But again, that was scripted material.
I don't think it was all. I didn't think it was all scripted. A lot of it wasn't.
If we're talking about the same segment, I'm not quite sure. There was some in there. So that ends this segment. We cut back, and this was where this joke paid off, because Byron's disappeared, and they state the voodoo doll worked because now Austin Aries is there. I thought this was kind of funny. Mm-hmm. I thought it was amusing.
Sure. Yeah.
Jack Gallagher took on Drew Gulak, and Gulak hit a clothesline off the turnbuckle after scoop slamming Gallagher onto the ropes, and then there was a headstand in the corner by Gallagher, and then he flipped Gulak over with his legs on the mat, did a discus forearm, but that gets stopped by a Gallagher headbutt and the running drop kick, and he pinned him in 3 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yeah, Gallagher's matches... You could see that the top rope handstand, the headstand, seems to be the spot that gets the most reaction at the moment. And you can definitely tell that he's probably been told to give up the ball thing for now. He has not used that at all since coming back. So I guess, there's that. He's not doing the knee bar either. They like that drop kick a little bit better. So I think he's gaining more traction than a lot of the guys in the division, and they seem to like him a lot.
So Charlie then interviews Gallagher, and he states he is well within his right to give Arya Daivari a thrashing, but he's going to offer an olive branch to end this feud with honor and not brutality. So he's going to invite him to have to meet him in a parlay on 205 Live, where they will sit down and negotiate terms of an agreement, or they will engage in fisticuffs.
Yeah, parlay.
He challenged him to a debate. Not even a debate, a negotiation.
Oh, that's what that is. Right.
They're going to sit down.
He got wadded a little, but he plowed right through it. So, yeah, he's doing okay. I don't think he's not amazing, but by cruiserweight standards, he seems to be, quite popular.
Shawn Michaels was hanging out with TJ Perkins backstage. We couldn't hear them. I desperately wanted to hear this conversation, but Perkins was instructing him how to dab.
All right.
Mick Foley is searching for The Undertaker in the back, and Stephanie asks, where is he? And he says that he can't contact The Undertaker by text or tweet, and tells Stephanie to trust him that he'll be here. Stephanie says, I've got to rely on facts, and your performance review hinges on The Undertaker appearing tonight, and he's got 1 hour to produce The Undertaker. So Shawn Michaels comes out, and I will say, I've ragged on this guy's fashion sense for a long time. This was the cleanest he has looked in forever.
I agree, sure.
He was wearing like jeans and cowboy boots. He didn't look like he had just walked out of a swamp. He had just a black shirt, vest, cowboy hat. He looked like a regular human being that has an ounce of respect for being on national television. So I applaud this man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Maybe
didn't have those crazy boots going up to his knees. Looked like he had just woken up 5 days ago and hadn't slept.
At some point, I suppose you're so well respected that you just don't give a shit how you look on TV anymore. You know, if you're a Mick Foley, if you're a Shawn Michaels, I could wear whatever I want. But maybe after last time, somebody did talk to Shawn.
I wonder if there's a fashion consultant that they have on staff.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Have to ask Michaels or Mick Foley.
That sounds like a gimmick to me.
A fashion
Oh,
consultant?
there is. For Breezango.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
That's what they do.
Michael says he's missed the people, especially at this time of the year, and says the Rumble is in his hometown this year. And he goes to bring up the Rumble from 20 years ago, but just got off track because someone chanted something, and he said, "You can't chant any curveball at me that I haven't hit out of the park, young man." And he never got back to his story about 1997, where he beat Sid.
So he was chased off by that curveball.
He kind of, yeah. Or maybe he gave the crowd a changeup. And he lists off the different Rumble participants this year, stating that's one reason he wants to be on the outside looking in. They all chanted one more match, and he says, well, I'm not going to give in to peer pressure. And then he brings up his new movie that he called, quote, an inspirational comedy, somewhat of a romance, that comes out January the 20th at a theater near you, which, let us emphasize, a limited theatrical release for the resurrection of Gavin Stone, who sounds like a NXT wrestler from 2010. Gavin Stone. So Rusev then interrupts Shawn Michaels with Lana and Jinder Mahal. And Rusev says, for this movie to be successful, which already I'm not going to hedge my bets on a blockbuster here. He says that Michaels needs to put Lana in the movie. And Michaels then explains how movies work, because this one's been shot, it's been edited, and it's coming out next week. Rusev makes fun of the Star Wars movie and tells Michaels to use CGI to insert Lana. Like, we took this one joke, and Rusev was bound and determined to get Lana into this movie. Michaels then breaks down how CGI works and compares Rusev to a Wookiee as the crowd chants sweet chin music, hopefully to drown out this interaction. So then Michaels asks if Rusev can even get his big hairy leg up that high, and Rusev admits it's doubtful that he could do that, and states he's the Bulgarian George Clooney, and Lana is better than Emma Stone. And Michaels then tells Rusev not to say Golden Globes while twirling his wife, and Rusev says that he does not understand this joke.
I didn't understand it either. What did he mean?
I imagine it was a reference to her boobs, but I feel that's a big stretch.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I guess
because they're golden.
See, because I when I hear Golden Globes, I feel like it's like a reference to testicles. Wasn't that like
it was Gold Dust?
Gold Dust move, but that also makes sense.
So this is the final step of their Divas revolution. The Golden Globes are now not gender specific.
Well, there certainly seemed to be a great deal of improv allowed in this particular scene.
Well, I was hoping they could add an E to the end of that word for this segment.
What?
Never mind. That was my bad joke.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, so Shawn was just like kind of coming out here and probably had some loose script, but went off of it a lot of times, as did Rusev. And I found, there was a lot of fun moments, but it didn't, I mean, with that though, you're kind of giving up the typical cohesion that you sometimes get with a more straightforward, scripted, rehearsed thing. I kind of prefer this. This kind of had like a loose feel of like an indie show.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Then Enzo and Cass came out, and Enzo admits that Shawn Michaels is the realest guy in the room. And Enzo says Lana is the best actress because every morning she wakes up and has to act that she is not repulsed by Rusev. Big Cass then refers to Jinder Mahal as the 40-year-old virgin. He calls Rusev Puss in Boots. Rusev and Lana, Beauty and the Beast. The three of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then ends it with The Pianist.
Yeah.
The Pianist.
Yeah, I know. I saw it.
A movie that was nominated for Best Picture at the 2003 Golden Globe
That's
Awards.
not that long ago.
That was so long ago that those awards took place on the night Triple H took on Scott Steiner at the Royal Rumble way. That's how long ago this was. This is how bored I was during this segment.
I don't know how you know that, like off the top of your head, but at the same time,
I didn't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, they always reference Foley and Taker, you know, and that was what 98. I mean, that's their own history, sure, but I'm not. There's no rule that says you can't reference anything that's older than 15 years old.
And especially if it's a dick joke, of course.
Sure.
It ended. Oh, Michaels then picked this up and called them Dumb and Dumber. Which
are you? You
which came out
when did that come out, and what was the wrestling storyline that happened at the same time that Dumb and Dumber came out?
Well, Cass and Enzo were 8 years old when that movie came out, and it ends with Cass challenging Rusev, and it ends with Shawn Michaels having 2 words for them, which was a reference from when I was 13 years old.
So if it were up to you, what is the cutoff for references that they should make on
Well,
this
they
show?
clearly established that the latest references that they're going to make is 2005 with the 40-year-old virgin.
Okay, 2005.
That's the latest that they're up to.
Gotcha.
So they have 11 years worth of movies to come.
Right.
I didn't enjoy this at all.
I felt like
Shawn Michaels physically got on an airplane for this.
I felt like he didn't make that much of an impact at all. You know, you compare like, you know, his return to some of the returns recently of like people like a Goldberg. Shawn's just kind of felt like nothing, you know? It felt largely rather forgettable. And I would say like in this segment, he ad-libbed a lot, but it wasn't smooth in my opinion, and it was kind of rusty. Rusev, on the other hand, I really enjoyed. I thought he was hilarious in this segment. He was able to show a lot more kind of a comedy with his character in recent months, and I thought here he showed great confidence in doing that too.
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand it's not like Michaels has anything going on at the Rumble. It's not like a Goldberg or a Taker where you have an angle to shoot with them, but you're telling me you couldn't come up with a more creative way on a show involving Taker where Foley's got to produce him. Yeah. I think there's something that Shawn could have been involved in that in a way more productive fashion.
Just felt like something you would do with like a hacksaw Jim Duggan, you know, somebody on that level.
Yeah, he felt just like
not a guy that you rank in your own top 100 list as being the greatest of all time. My opinion.
Yeah, so we moved on to an Emelina promo. I'm not even going to continue to mention these. Assume they air every week on Monday. Neville took on Lince Dorado, and there was a leg scissors that sent Neville to the floor.
There's the match too, Jinder and Big Cass.
Oh, they had a match. That's right.
Let's just skip it. Doesn't matter.
Well, it was funny because Cass challenged Rusev, and we came back from break, and he was involved in a match with Jinder.
He challenged Rusev, and then Rusev was like, all right, you can have your match against Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, this featured an awful East River crossing where he just, it was hit very badly, and he followed with the Empire Elbow and beat Jinder in 310.
Shawn hit the Sweet Chin Music.
Which was the highlight of the match and his entire appearance, which he could still hit this, and the crowd gave him the biggest reaction for this to Rusev.
So I'm thinking that this will probably finally put to rest any WrestleMania rumors, because it certainly seems like there's nothing primed for Shawn Michaels watching an appearance like this.
Maybe he's going to have a movie review at WrestleMania. Him and Rusev go to the movies.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neville and Lince Dorado. Neville took a suicide dive from Dorado, and then Neville caught Dorado, lifted him onto his shoulders, and hit this F5 into the rings of Saturn, and Dorado tapped out in 3 minutes. He attacked Dorado after the match, reapplied the submission. So now with Neville, you've got the Red Arrow, the Superplex, and the Rings of Saturn. As this guy's finished.
Great. He's got an aerial maneuver you know, the superplex is sort of aerial too, but it's more of a ground maneuver. And then he's got a submission, which is, you know, every finisher slot you could have in a video game. So, good stuff.
Yeah, this the remake of Neville has been.
It's been great. But I'll say again, the crowd didn't really care for this.
No, they had their moments on this show, but there was a lot of downtime on this show. I do not blame them at all for some of the stuff on this show that filled up 3 hours. Then we had a Royal Rumble feature with Edge reflecting on his 2010 return and winning it, where he came back from his injury and noted that winning the Rumble was the last major thing he had left to do in his career. He always wanted to win a Rumble. And then, as a personal fuck you to me, we ended this by promoting the 30th anniversary of the Royal Rumble.
Why? Because that's too old?
The event that began in 1988, Way. Now, to their defense, there was a Royal Rumble in 1987 at a house show, but that is not part of their history of the Royal Rumble. It begins in 88. How hard is this? How hard is it to figure out how an anniversary works, how numbers work?
Right. Could it be that they just counted that house show one?
It's definitely not.
No, definitely not.
It has never once been referenced by them. And to be honest, there was a Rumble prior to that too.
Weird.
And there were 2 Rumbles in 94, technically.
Okay.
So if we want to be...
it's already passed.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's wrong. Yeah.
Like somebody that does these just doesn't understand that when it's the 30th of something, that does not mean it is the 30th anniversary. You are not one when you are born.
Is it even the 30th one?
No, next year will be the 30th anniversary. So this would be the 30th Royal Rumble.
Oh, okay.
That they acknowledge.
Yeah. Well, it's different math down there in that universe, the WWE universe.
Stephanie's in her office, and Sasha and Bayley walk in, and they want a tag match next week with Charlotte and Nia. And Stephanie immediately tells them to take the bass out of their voices. She is the only boss here, and gives Sasha this look, tells Bayley not to call her. Steph makes the match, but it's tonight, and Bayley accepts. Sasha be like, yeah, my knee is banged up here, and I just got hurt half an hour ago. Thanks a lot, Bayley.
Well, Sasha was kind of like nodding, like, yeah, okay, I'll take it. But, boy, Steph was in like full crazy, just yelling mode here. And, but again, I feel like you can't get too mad at this because there could be a program coming out of this. You know, Steph could wrestle a match.
Yeah, we can give plausible deniability to Stephanie in these cases.
Yes.
We will hold our breath for Sasha's revenge on Stephanie. Then Bayley, Sheamus took on Luke Gallows. We had Carl Anderson and Cesaro for our 5-man commentary team.
It looked ridiculous.
It looked like the CNN panel at the debates where they had 100 people.
That table looked way too small. They need a bigger table because like Byron looked like he was like this the entire time. It looked very uncomfortable. It sounded very uncomfortable too.
Did you think that Carl or Cesaro stood out on commentary?
No.
They didn't have much time to, first of all.
I feel like even if they had 10 minutes, how long did they have? How long was the thing?
Well, they went through a break.
Okay,
so.
But even if they had an hour, I didn't think the interaction was all that great. I mean, Carl Anderson's thing is about how we were really big in Japan. We're really big in Japan, and so like
we signed big contracts, and he's got a hot Asian wife.
Right. Which is like kind of like what they do on the podcast. It's like kind of their characters on the podcast, and then but Cesaro,
he should plug his podcast appearances with Gallows on Jericho's show when he has, because he can't get his personality across in this setting. So
it's
he should say,
right?
everyone go download Jericho's podcast and listen to us be entertaining.
Thing is, though, it's almost like him just bringing those things up means nothing to a casual viewer who hasn't listened to those podcasts. He's more speaking to people who have already listened to that podcast. And maybe that's the whole intent of hiring these guys is to get the attention of people that are already fans of theirs. But I can't say there's there's any support for a new viewer to understand what he's talking about.
Something historic happened during the commentary. They were going over the different names fans have suggested for Cesaro and Sheamus. The first one was Cesarmus. Cesaro then said that he prefers Cesaro and Sheamus. And the other one was Cesaro, meaning this is the last time I ever want to hear two people's names formed into one.
Yeah, I know.
I'm done with these. Cesarmus. Like, if that's not the stupidest name I've heard in my entire life.
What would we be?
Juan.
Tinglik?
Juan?
Juan?
You're taking last names.
Jai? Ugh. It's gross. Let's just cut that out.
Tinlick.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work for us.
Appalling.
God, this is terrible.
Reigns was backstage staring at his title, and Charlie asks if he's physically prepared after this attack. He says it doesn't matter how he feels. He's got an obligation to defend this title every night.
It was...
The guy who's defended this title maybe once.
Yeah. Like, him saying this is like the worst. He feels like the guy who's cared about that title the least of anybody who's held it over the past, I don't know, 5 years. It was even unusual for me to see him in this segment hold the belt. Because whenever he comes out, it doesn't seem like he ever has the belt.
Strapped over his back like a backpack. He says it's one versus all. If I had a quarter for every time I've said that to someone. It's one versus all. And whenever I go out there with Owens and Jericho, I spear their guts out. And tonight will be no different.
Oh, you wouldn't expect a professional athlete to say that in a backstage interview?
Spear his guts out. They wonder why there's not a centimeter of likability for people to cling on to this guy for.
Well, the thing is, though, if a Conor McGregor suddenly said those exact words, it'd be awesome. We'd love it. However, in that world, it would seem a lot more organic because somebody like that would stand out. Here, it's just I don't know, it just comes across as bad acting.
He's got a poor delivery, and the dialogue is hardly award-winning.
Yeah, there's worse.
There's
on the
worse.
roster.
That's true, but in his level, with the amount of promos he needs to do, it's an issue. Mick Foley's in the ring. He says he's traveled to the depths of hell with The Undertaker, and he carries those scars physically and emotionally, and he's calling upon Taker for one more encounter. And Foley has been doing this for 32 years, and he has never felt anything like The Undertaker's entrance, and he goes to describe it when all of a sudden the lights go out and Stephanie comes out. I thought this was a good bit.
Yeah.
Stephanie teasing it.
It was nice.
She apologizes for Foley's inability to produce The Undertaker, and she's going to give Foley's performance review now and blames him for this crowd's reaction, which was silence. They were just waiting for The Undertaker. And notes Foley's positives, such as teaming Cesaro and Sheamus together, for booking the first women's Hell in a Cell match, the idea to put Chris Jericho in a shark cage, but for each step forward, he's taken 2 back. He put the Cruiserweight division on the line. He injected his personal feelings with Sami Zayn in his feud with Braun Strowman, and he was the reason that SmackDown beat them in the ratings. The show that Mick Foley was off for Christmas. Was that not the week?
I don't remember.
Well, anyway, he was now the reason, we have learned.
Sure.
And says that there is an empty buzz in this arena because of Mick Foley. And Foley...
Well, at least they're admitting it.
Yes. The whole gist of this segment was the crowd's dead because of Mick Foley. And Foley goes to apologize when the music of The Undertaker plays. And he comes out and has this big elaborate entrance, and he comes in and he announces that he is entering the Royal Rumble. And they show Braun Strowman watching this backstage, and Taker explains that he answers to no one, he goes where he wants, and where he wants.
Yeah, to me, I thought that was in reference to him being on SmackDown earlier.
Yes.
And saying that he's...
This was our way to explain that, well, Raw is going up against a massive college football game, and we need you on Raw instead of SmackDown, and here's our reason.
Because on SmackDown, when he appeared, didn't he say that he was...
This was my yard
yeah.
on SmackDown.
Yeah, SmackDown was his yard.
Well, it's a big yard.
Okay, so now nobody owns him.
No one owns him. No one controls him.
Okay.
And he's going to the Royal Rumble. He says that he has returned here to the city where he suffered his most devastating loss, where the streak met its demise, and his journey continues.
Yeah, it was a big...
This was the
big
promo
announcement.
Ronda Rousey needed to cut.
Sure. Yeah, did you notice Taker's promo style kind of sounds like Christopher Reeve?
Like Christopher Reeve.
I talk, then I pause, and then I keep talking. You know how like Christopher Reeve,
I guess a little bit.
with his voice box, used to talk?
All right.
Anyway.
Undertaker was the brother that didn't have the voice box.
Yeah, I know.
But nonetheless.
I'm talking about his speech pattern. But anyway, he says rest in peace. And then he makes this gurgling
Yes, I
sound.
wrote it down.
Yeah, the world noticed it. It's rest in peace. Like, what was that? Is this like a new gimmick? Like a gurgling gimmick? Like a Darth Vader thing instead of like whoosh, it's
That
like
should be
gurgle.
his next update should be a Vader mask, not a
Yeah.
big Van Vader mask where he talks.
But something that he would gurgle with.
Yeah, I noticed this too.
His brother was the dentist, so
Oh, there you
makes
go.
sense. You know,
So
yeah.
maybe he had some cleaning done.
Yeah.
Literally. And he dug 29 holes for 29 souls.
29 holes.
So he's been working on his rhyming patterns too during his time away.
Wow. Anyway, yeah, the entrance was cool. You know, the announcement is a pretty big one. It seems like this Rumble maybe used to set up a lot of major programs for WrestleMania, so it certainly was a big one.
It's certainly the most wide field in terms of
Yeah.
people you can make arguments for winning the whole thing.
And some of the potential interactions you could have in there, you know, with the Taker and Brock Lesnar meeting again, you know, for the first time, or for the
Yep,
third,
they teased that here.
third or fourth time.
They
I
teased
don't know.
Taker and Braun here.
Yeah, yeah.
Only hope.
So this Rumble match should be a really good one. Yeah.
And then Corey Graves asks, is it too early to submit his pick to win the whole thing? And my answer to Corey Graves is no, it is not too early because you can now enter the official Review-A-Wai Royal Rumble pool, Corey,
Where?
at royalrumble.info.
RoyalRumble.info.
Yes.
Wow.
Our annual pool is up. You can submit all of your picks, and the deadline is Royal Rumble Day at noon Eastern.
Cool.
So you can wait until then, or you can submit your picks now.
How many people did we have last year?
I want to say it was around 1,000 or so last year that
So you
joined.
pretty much have no chance, so it's not worth it. I'm joking. No, you should not enter regardless anyway.
It's a pretty elaborate pool
Yeah.
with the questions we ask, so it'll be a clear-cut winner.
So everybody has a chance. And what are the prizes?
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
It's a mystery every time.
They announced Cedric Alexander against Noam Dar for 205 Live, and they're also going to do Rich Swann against our man Tony Nese and the Parlay.
Yes.
All
the parlay,
announced.
Yes.
Charlie is with Owens and Jericho. They mock Charlie's excitement for The Undertaker appearing. And Owens says how Goldberg and Roman Reigns angered him last week when they got involved. They're going to take the United States title. And then Kevin says, Chris, you say things now. And Jericho took over the promo stating that the U.S. has had a champion that they are embarrassed about for over 100 days. And it's time for two Canadians to be the face of the U.S. and Raw before calling her Chaz and leaving. Charlotte and Nia Jax against Bayley and Sasha Banks was next in our tag match. They went to a break very quickly. They got the heat on Sasha early after she missed the double knees coming off the turnbuckle, which I can't say I had a whole lot of sympathy for Sasha. Why would you be going for this, even if you hit this on your knee that you've been recovering from?
It's sacrifice. It's a sacrifice.
For what? She hasn't even won matches with
inflict
this
damage to your opponents.
move. To yourself more.
Well,
Well,
it felt like a calculated.
I had no sympathy for her.
It's a calculated
She
risk.
grabs her knee here. I don't think it was calculated. I don't think she crunched any numbers on the risk-reward ratio. Charlotte landed a running boot to Bayley after she was tagged in, and they keep Bayley in the corner. Nia's in, hits snake eyes on her. Nia then knocks Sasha off the apron. Nia just avalanches Bayley, knocks her down, and hits a leg drop and pins Bayley clean.
Mm-hmm. Your number one contender.
Yes.
Pinned clean. So, I mean, I know the idea is they're trying to say that Bayley didn't really have a partner to tag in because Sasha was injured, and thus that's why she lost. Do you think that they add Nia to the match?
That's what it felt like on this. I mean, I feel they're going to do... I don't know if they do Nia and Sasha on their own. I certainly don't want to see all four involved in this match, but I could see that as a possibility.
Or maybe Bayley's number one contendership is on the line next week. And they could...
With Nia?
Yeah. And then...
You could do that. It seems to be building to something with Nia.
Yeah.
Noam Dar is backstage looking at himself in the mirror when Alicia Fox walks up, and Noam puts his cheek out expecting to be slapped and says that Cedric's told Alicia that he's not man enough to handle her, and then Alicia just dips him down and makes out with him. And he looks all stunned, and Alicia says that Cedric was right. You can't handle a real woman. And she walks off. So she's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess so. That's what this was, right? She's crazy.
That's what we're supposed to feel.
She wanted to see if he could handle her. And so
does this mean...
kissed him, and he couldn't handle it.
So maybe this is working to a relationship with Rich Swann.
What? Oh.
Can you handle this?
Wow. No, maybe it'll be Noam and Rich Swann. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah. I thought this was a little awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed if... Shouldn't Cedric be pretty upset here?
Yeah.
So either Cedric doesn't watch Raw, or he is a babyface that no one can believe in.
He's watching Raw, I bet. He's probably there. Yeah.
So I guess this is the reason for their match tomorrow. I felt this kind of babyface star. It's like, this woman's nuts.
I don't know. Dude, I don't know what to think coming out of this.
I'm trying to make sense out of it.
Like if my
They're
girl...
not giving me much.
If my girlfriend was like, all of a sudden, like, decided to kiss the dude that I knew was chasing her, I'd be pissed off at her.
Cedric should be furious.
Yeah, of course.
He's got to dump her tomorrow. And if he doesn't, no one can care.
Like,
It'd be like Sasha delivering the double knees on a bad knee.
Because, like...
You're a moron.
Because it looks like... I mean, Alicia afterwards was like, oh, Cedric was right. You couldn't handle me. Like, as if...
What does that mean?
Well,
what was his reaction supposed to be? No sell the kiss? What does handling it mean? He didn't start crying in passion. He just...
Dude, I don't know.
Was he supposed to be turned off?
Maybe, like, he didn't use enough tongue. I don't know. I can't tell. But, like, she made it seem like, oh, Cedric made me do this to challenge you to see if you can handle it.
Oh, God, is that where we're going?
Yeah.
There?
Swingers.
Yeah.
Cuckold storyline. That's what this could be.
That's the next step here for 205 Live. Yeah. Oh, man. It's going to be a three-way at the pay-per-view.
We're talking way too much about this storyline.
Well, I'm trying to avoid this next segment because this was awful. The New Day come out, and they recap the Titus storyline from last week. So that was not a one-off last week. This is going to continue. So Titus is apologizing for attacking Xavier last week. He wants another chance to be in the New Day. And Xavier says that, well, we know that because we got your texts, your tweets, and your DMs, allowing Titus to sing that it goes down in the DMs. So then, the New Day throws to a custom-made video of Titus O'Neil from his time on NXT when it was a lot less entertaining than it is today.
Oh, I beg to differ.
You didn't watch it.
Mustache?
Then, did you? Yes, you're right.
I have a mustache.
Eli Cottonwood?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
God.
That was an amazing season of NXT.
Yeah. So this video package featured one of the many mindless tasks. This one was running around the ring with a beer keg and Titus tripping over himself that they replayed 100 times here in this video. And they now have a keg here at ringside for Titus to redeem himself 7 years later. And they put the time up from his last run, which was 12.7 seconds. They explain it's full of booty juice. and Titus has to run around the ring with this keg.
I can't believe, like, of all their history, they would reference this. They would bring.
I
this
can't
back
imagine someone thinking of this.
up. I didn't remember this.
I bet you the people in this segment didn't remember
like,
this.
Whose idea would this have been? Like, would it have been Titus's own idea? Like who? I don't.
And who was the one that heard this idea and said, "Go on"? And it just ended.
That sounds great. Get a beer keg.
All right. So we play it, and then we've got a new keg that he's gonna try and beat the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're drawing on history.
Yeah. And then he drops it before he crosses the line.
Yeah. So they referenced that like this was like a Deshaun Jackson famous like fumble
Yes, where he
in the NFL.
downs
football.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that's the joke. That was the whole reason for this.
So Titus spiked the keg before he crossed the finish line with 0.6 seconds remaining. And they show the replay, and he argues with them, and this led to a match.
Yeah, this sucked.
Dude, it was
This really
amazing
sucked.
going through my worst of list of how many awful segments the New Day were a part of last year.
Well, how many awful segments Titus was a part of? 2.
Quite a lot. This is
Yeah.
the grand amalgamation of awful comedy segments. The New Day and Titus O'Neil. And this is my worst segment so far for 2017.
Wow.
This surpassed the Enzo Cass debacle from earlier.
my
for
God.
me. No question.
Yeah.
We have a front runner.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep track of this.
Yes, please.
They announced WrestleMania 34, April the 8th of 2018. The latest that WrestleMania has ever taken place in a calendar year. April the 8th.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
So this
So
is...
that would be the 35th anniversary.
Yes, not the 34th anniversary next year.
Oh, is it actually the 35th or is it the 33rd anniversary?
It's next year. Sorry, next year is the 33rd anniversary.
33rd
I forget what
anniversary.
numbers we're up
Okay.
to. Next year is the 33rd anniversary of
Gotcha.
WrestleMania.
Okay.
Kofi took on Titus, who hit a scoop slam. The announcers are putting over his strength. Hits a big boot, seats Kingston on top, and then he leaps off, and Titus catches him with a pair of backbreakers, but then nearly trips over his feet as Michael Cole jokes that Titus thought Kofi was a keg for a second, which was the best line of anything to do with these individuals tonight. Michael Cole was really on his game here with that line.
He was great on that season of NXT. Remember that? That was like heel Michael Cole.
I do, and the
Making fun of
the
everything.
after effects of that were painful for the next year and a half. He got tossed, Kofi did, onto Xavier and Big E on the floor when they start playing the trombone. Titus chases after them, back into the ring, into the Trouble in Paradise, and Kofi pins this dork in 3:34. And the announcers state that the Titus brand needs a reboot. Great.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this continues until he goes through all 3 members and loses to all 3 members.
Great. And then he'll join the New Day after he has gone through every form of losing and humiliation.
Do you think that, like, in some way this is somehow related to the shoving incident?
No, because this is punishment for us, not for Titus.
Oh, right, yes.
Brock is on Raw next week in Little Rock, Arkansas. Roman versus Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho for the United States title. This started pretty late in the show. This wasn't our usual 20-minute main event. This thing went about 8 minutes. And it started with Reigns going after them on the ramp, and they fought all over the entrance. He tried to put Jericho into the shark cage, but Owens prevented him from blocking it. They continued to beat down on Reigns. Finally, they made their way back into the ring, so the ring bell rang to start the match. Reigns is beaten down. He comes back with clotheslines in the corner. A boot sends Owens to the floor. He calls for the Superman punch, but misses Jericho. And then Owens punches him from the apron into a lion salt for a 2 count. Somewhere in this, Jericho cut himself on his forehead. I wasn't sure where it took place. Owens sets him up with the pop-up into the codebreaker, but Reigns comes down with a Superman punch and delivers one to both of them. Jericho kicks him in the head to stop the spear. The codebreaker's blocked. And then Reigns comes off the ropes for a spear. And then Owens pulls Reigns to the floor, stopping the pin attempt on Chris Jericho. This leads to Jericho then springing off the ropes for a drop kick into a Superman punch. But it's the numbers game that Reigns can't defeat here as Jericho lands a code breaker in the ropes. There's an apron powerbomb by Owens, and Owens sends Reigns back into the ring into a code breaker, and Jericho pins Roman in 8:15 and wins the United States title. Michael Cole notes that Jericho has never won this title before in his career, and this was kind of confusing because Owens holds up the Universal title, and Jericho's got the U.S. title, with Graves stating both are champions and Cole stating Jericho's the champion.
Yeah, officially, Jericho is the champion, but the way Owens and Jericho will celebrate it is as if they both won.
If it's a handicap match, shouldn't they both have a claim to the title? This wasn't a three-way.
But Jericho got the pin, though, didn't he?
Well, it's a handicap match.
Yeah, but it's in those types of rules.
This is a Corderas question. They should both have I think that's going to be the storyline. Both are going to claim to have the title. And I feel this is going to be what eventually leads to their breakup.
I guess so. Sure. Possible.
Does this kind of give you the idea that Reigns is winning the Universal title at the Rumble?
Man.
I cannot see Owens leaving the Rumble with all these titles.
Why not?
I don't feel
He's not going to hold the U.S. title, though.
Owens?
Yeah, Jericho will have the U.S.
Well, I feel Reigns losing here means a win is coming his way. Or not. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you because that seems terrible.
Maybe Reigns is going to be so broken by this loss. He's not going to do any interviews now until the Rumble. And then he suffers a second loss in 48 seconds.
Let me ask you honestly, though. Like, do you think that Roman Reigns is in any position to hold your Universal Championship right now in the public eye?
No.
He hasn't felt this cold in a long, long time to me. And, even this match, I really could not get into. I mean, it's just like these four guys that you put together, I feel you've used it so much that I just can't help but just tune out whenever I see these guys together now. And this handicap match was nothing new.
You just wait till there's a shark cage involved. I
guess so.
I didn't think it was crazy that they take the U.S. title off him. I thought for sure Braun was getting involved. I thought that was the whole tease on this show, that he was going to cost Roman the title. But no involvement here from him or Seth.
Certainly right now I feel like the U.S. title, you'll get more out of putting it on Jericho and Owens than you do with Roman, who really is that was just a waste.
So there you go. That was Raw.
This was a tough edition of Raw.
Yeah. I mean, you had some advancements with The Undertaker and his involvement, but this was...
Both of those cameos, I'd say, were quite disappointing. It's Taker and Shawn. You know, Taker's fulfilled whatever. He came out and said what he needed to say.
There was something achieved with that segment.
But you're right, yes. But Shawn just there's nothing there. When I feel like you could use him so much better.
Yeah, he was just a bit player on this show. It was almost like we're just forcing him into this show for some reason.
For the movie.
Yeah. Oh, and what a job they did. So there you have it. The Resurrection of Gavin Stone comes out on January 20th. Michaels did do a good job of hammering that date. He repeated that date over and over. Mm-hmm. So that was Raw. Not a easy to watch edition of the show. It was very long.
Yeah. That wasn't the only reason why it sucked. It just was not a good show.
There's a lot of bad stuff on the show, too. Yeah. So that is going to do it for us. Wai, when will we be returning?
We will be back tomorrow.
Wednesday,
sorry.
There's people watching live.
We will be back Wednesday for Review-A-Smackdown / Review-A Talking Smack.
I'm looking forward to this.
Review-A 205 Live.
Yes.
Why are you looking forward to it?
I think they promoted SmackDown very well. Right. It was a good show last week.
Do you think SmackDown beats Raw this week?
I'm going to say no. I think they did a pretty good job on this show, at least of building to Taker and building to the main event. I think they did a good job. Mm-hmm. We'll see. I think they're going to narrowly edge out SmackDown this week. That is my prediction. You?
Okay. I'm with you. Because of Shawn and because of Taker, Raw probably still wins.
It is Cena's first match back, so they do have that. And they promoted it well. They aired a ton of commercials for it tonight, so we shall see. That is coming up on Wednesday. You can go to liveaudiowrestling.com, and also you can join our Review-A-Wai Royal Rumble pool at royalrumble.info. Each week, you have a chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees during Review-A-Raw. All you have to do is pay attention for the secret question and then submit your answer at Law Radio on Twitter, and you'll be entered into a draw to win your t-shirt, including our own brand of shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com/law.